Michael Stinziano's seat will be filled on Monday with a new appointment. He won election for Franklin County Auditor in November. Council also heard from concerned residents who want better representation in their neighborhoods. State Representatives Richard Brown and Tim Schaefer this week introduced a bill to arrange current Ohio Department of Public Safety policy and allow districts to install safety cameras on their school buses. The cameras, which
Hey, Eric.
the exterior of the buses,
Yes,
are
sir.
intended to assist.
He's already on the line. Do you want me to have him call back, or do you just want to take him right out of the gate?
Is that Lowe's?
Yeah.
Do you mind him holding so we can just hear the flow?
No, I'm fine with him holding.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
okay
gonna try to get to him before this first break.
All right, sounds good.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Will help support bus drivers, keep children safe, and provide additional information to help identify offending motorists. Matt Duchene had just north of 19 minutes of ice time and 3 shots on goal in his debut as the Blue Jackets defeated the Ottawa Senators 3-0 last night. They are back home this afternoon to take on the San Jose Sharks at 5 o'clock. Your ABC 6 Burst Morning Weather forecast today: cloudy, breezy, and mild with rain, which can be heavy at times, a high of 55. For tonight, scattered rain with gusty winds and a low of 49. And for Sunday, we start off with morning rain changing to snow showers later on. It will be windy again as temperatures will fall into the mid-40s by midday. I'm Sean Gallagher. More news at the bottom of the hour and on demand at 610WTVN.com.
Looking to buy a car? Online shopping can be confusing. Not anymore with True Price from TrueCar. Now you can know the exact price you'll pay for the car you want and see what other people paid for it too. When you're ready to buy a new or used car, visit TrueCar to enjoy a more confident car buying experience.
I'll tell you, any day I have a chance to drop by Westerville and see my friends at Allen's Coin Shop, it is a beautiful day. Hey there, Joel Riley for Allen's. And one of the reasons I really like it, well, I've been a penny collector pretty much my whole life, and I started shopping at Allen's a long time ago. But over time, I got to know them, they got to know me, and that's what it's about for collectors. You know, you're always looking for the next piece, thing that is the right condition that fits into your collection, and you want a place that kind of knows what you're doing. Now, if you're just starting collecting, no worries about it. I mean, the 2019 Silver Eagles are in, and if you're thinking, this is my launch point and I'm going to build a set, they'll get to know you. And I think, too, Allen's is so great because when you talk inventory, they're deep. I know there are places that tout we've got the biggest selection, but I don't want to have to drive to 9 or 10 different stores to find it. I want to go to one place, see what I want to see, and make buys and make my collection better. Allen's is that place. You can shop them early online at allensinc.com or stop and see them. State Street in Westerville. Allen's Coin Shop, serving collectors since 1960.
Live from LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility, this is On Target, the latest from the firearms industry, the products and politics that affect your hobby and liberty. This program may not be politically correct, but it is On Target. Now, your host, Eric Delbert.
Good afternoon. Welcome to On Target. Mr. Scott, got a little echo there.
Well, there's two of you, Eric. There's two of you.
The world couldn't take two of me. There we go.
All right.
That was
Good afternoon. Welcome to On Target. We are broadcasting live from the studios of LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility. That's located at 999 Bethel Road. I'm your host, Eric, along with my father, Phil. Woohoo, guys. Smith & Wesson Day is finally here.
It is. Did you buy one?
Well, not yet.
Yeah.
I did every other day of the week.
Yeah.
I mean, why is today
did.
anything
Yeah.
special? But if you are in the market for a Smith & Wesson, today is the day.
Today is the day.
The rep is here. He has many items up there for you to try. And if you end up purchasing a Smith & Wesson today, one day only, no sales tax. Now, before all the tax auditors get up in arms, we're taking 7.5% off. We're still paying sales tax on this, but our customers are not.
Are not.
So-
That's right. And that's for new and used Smith & Wessons, too.
Really?
So if it's got an
Wow.
S&W on there, that's what you get. So
And did you see how many Performance Center firearms were going out the door? I
Oh,
mean, there are
yeah.
some gorgeous revolvers that have been sold here on Smith & Wesson.
first
Yeah,
quality
that would be-
guns, newer used, and they have a lifetime warranty on their used stuff. So I mean, it's a great deal. Stop in.
It is. It is. Well, we are the owners of LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility and are active law enforcement. But for 1 hour on Saturdays, we put together a group of firearm experts to discuss new products in the market, training tips, and oftentimes political topics surrounding the Second Amendment. Our commitment, though, has always been to bring you the facts about our industry and ultimately help our listeners and our customers with safe, responsible ownership of firearms. Guys, you know we have done a lot in these last couple months to increase our social media presence. It's the sign of the times. It's what you do, in being in a retail business. This week, though, we had our #1 Facebook post we've ever put out there. When I just jumped on air, we had 22,000 hits on it.
Wow, 22,000. Wow, that's got to be the one announcing our Smith & Wesson Day, right?
No, you would think, but it wasn't, John.
What? I think it had to be the one where Pelosi said she's taking all of our guns.
That would be you would think.
You guys are way off base. It's because I have the gun of the week. Right.
Okay.
Wait, just because your one fan showed up in the studio today.
I have 2 fans. I want to welcome Jennifer and Samantha. They usually listen, but they're here live in person.
That's right.
Yep.
Wow. So, guys, you would think it was all of these. So it's the sale of Smith & Wesson Day, but no. It was actually because of a brazen theft that occurred here on Tuesday night of a stun gun. And, while the dollar amount's not big, we're not talking big dollars, it was still a stun gun. And if somebody had enough if they decided to steal this here, who knows if they were going to use that in a crime. So we took to the internet with our security cameras, which is just a phenomenal system, and we were able to identify who did it really quick and put it out there on Facebook, and 22,000 people looked at it. Channel 6 picked up on it. We did a story with them, and then, would you know it, last night we identified who they were. So charges are pending, and thanks to everyone who was out there helping us.
And what is the bottom line?
I was just going to ask that.
The bottom line is, don't come in our store and steal from law enforcement people.
Right.
Because we have all the mechanisms to find you.
Right.
Or even go one step further and don't go in any store and steal from them.
Yeah. It is a huge problem. Theft in the retail environment is a huge problem. And unfortunately, the way the society is now, many of these retailers have told their employees not to do anything. And they'll walk right out the door.
They can literally watch the people go into or pick up something from the shelf and walk out, and the employees won't do anything. They were told not to do anything. That's not the case here.
That is, if you're a thief and you're listening, that is not our policy. So,
well, it's a gun store, and like you said, you have just it's a higher level of consciousness about what goes on here. We have a high level of responsibility,
and we have how many pairs of handcuffs do we have waiting in the wings?
That is plenty. Now, as a subset of all of this, in the Channel 6 story, if you saw it out there, K9 Boeing was featured in it, and he is now his head is even bigger than it was before the story, and apparently he's demanding soft dog food now, not this dry stuff. Well, there was a video we captured of him actually watching the story on Channel 6, and he sits there and he's patiently watching it, and as soon as he comes on, he walks right up to the TV, kind of watches it.
That's so funny.
He turns his head like, guys, are you seeing this? I'm right here on TV.
There you are. You heard his name on TV and went right to the screen.
So consequently, I think he's getting his own Facebook feed here or something. So, one thing. Well, guys, today on the show, it's all about Smith & Wesson. We have a rep here on site. You can come in and test fire a number of different firearms that are really neat. And as we said, no tax on it. The price on the tag is what you pay. So at 1:30, we're going to talk a little about the history, some of their iconic firearms, and talk about some of our favorites. And I know that's something that is all near and dear to our hearts.
Just because the guys sitting around this table were not interested enough to ask me what the gun of the week was.
My goodness, we just did a wager on what you would have.
No. I'm going to just, all right, here's a hint. It's a Smith & Wesson.
Okay. Did you knock us over with the fact?
Wait, it's not a pistol, or it's not a revolver, it's not a semi-auto.
No.
Okay.
All right?
Wait, let me, I'm going to throw out one hint.
Okay.
It is the largest caliber that they ever produced.
This is going to be interesting.
And the other clue is you can fire it either double action or single action.
Wow.
And what's its effective range?
Well, hey, then I'll give it away, Ron.
So that's coming up at 1:15. before that, we're actually going to jump to a good friend of ours, Steve Lose from Buckeye Firearms. He's going to update us on House Bill 228. As you know, that went into effect, or actually was voted upon in December. Shortly thereafter, it was determined that there was a clerical error that inadvertently not only did it not clear up some of the issues surrounding shotguns, such as the shockwaves and so forth, it inadvertently made some other firearms potentially illegal when this goes into effect.
Yeah, so, it went from this is legal to have to this is illegal to have, all in a clerical
and
error.
It was definitely a clerical error. It is something, I mean, it's of concern, but it's something that's being corrected. So let's go to Steve. Steve, are you still on there?
I am.
Hey, welcome to OnTarget. Great talking to you as always. Hey, tell us and the listeners where we stand with the fix for House Bill 228.
Well, as you said, basically what happened was when HB 228 passed at the end of December and the governor's veto was overridden, the Legislative Service Commission, the folks that draft legislation and put the final touches on bills before they go into law, put some of the language basically in the wrong place. They moved it from one column to another, and our intent was to legalize the Mossberg shotgun, bring it in the shockwave, bring our law into line in Ohio with federal law to make it permissible. But unfortunately, because of the placement of that language, it brought into question the legality not only of the shockwave, as you said, but some other long guns in Ohio, depending on dimensions and sporting applications. Right now, Buckeye Firearms Association has been working to get this corrected. We knew about it within a couple of days, and you folks touched on it in past shows. We've been working to get this fixed kind of behind the scenes since almost the first few days that happened. Right now, there have been two bills introduced, House Bill 86 and Senate Bill 53, and those are basically just bills that will correct this, fix the language in the original HB 228, and it includes an emergency clause that would make it go in effect immediately when the governor signs it. So there shouldn't be any kind of overlap. So hopefully these bills will be voted out of committee, both in the Senate and the House committees this week, Tuesday and Wednesday, consecutively. So that's the plan right now. I know House Bill 86 will be being heard in the committee on Wednesday morning at 9 and hear proponent and opponent testimony. So it's moving along. Hopefully that'll get that corrected pretty quickly.
And Steve, I think we spoke before. Unlike many of the bills you see on any range of topics these days, this bill is simply, very simply stated, it is to correct the clerical error. Correct? We're not. There shouldn't be anything to debate here. It's just a bill to correct the error.
Correct. It seeks to correct the drafting error. And it has an emergency clause, so as soon as it's signed, it should go into effect. But it's kind of a one-issue bill. It's not going to address other things at all.
Okay, great. Well, and that should JC's show me some info there. So, I mean, are you expecting any opposition from some of the people who maybe aren't firearm friendly?
We hope not. We don't plan on it. There's not a lot out there for them to really latch onto with this. It's just a language correction fix. So we're hoping there's not too much opposition. There's always a little bit, but for people who oppose the original bill, it's possible they could show up and protest it. But I think as long as the gun owners are all on the same page, and we'll get it done. The House version and Senate version, I think they have to make the language match, and they're working on that. Just on the language, but if you call your lawmakers politely and ask them to get this passed, I'm sure it wouldn't be a bad thing if some grassroots folks did some activism.
Great. Well, hey, thank you so much for keeping us updated. Hopefully, within a week or so, we'll have good news, and we'll be back on track with everything. It'll be just a blip in the past and something that we can go on with. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's the plan. Thank you for all you guys are doing to keep people informed with factual news. And if you stay tuned to BuckeyeFirearms.org, there'll be updates on that as soon as things move.
Great. And you guys always do a wonderful job. I mean, that's our go-to.
Yeah, that's our go-to, right? Yeah. They are just it. If you're not a supporter of the Buckeye Firearms Association, you should be. You should join. They are there for us. And we really appreciate Steve and all the other work that Jim Irvine and all the guys are doing there. So thanks again, Steve.
Great. Thanks so much, Steve, and we'll catch up to you soon.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Great. So, guys, before, I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit today, but I should probably introduce, I didn't even say who I was sitting here with today.
All
you
right.
know, so
Who
if
are
you're
you
just
sitting here
tuning
with
into the show
you're
for the
standing.
first
You're
time.
not even sitting today.
We know who we are. We know who we are.
JC from the sales team sits to my right. JC, we have a second. Tell us about this wonderful stat coming out of New York City. Now, New York City, I mean, we're talking strict gun laws. I mean, they must be down to almost nothing as far as crime.
Exactly. I mean, ex-mayor Bloomberg has headquartered every town for gun safety there. His multi-million-dollar organization passed all these gun restrictions, so obviously it's got to be taking effect, right? Well, maybe not. So far this year, homicides in New York City, according to the New York Daily News, are up 55% over the same period last year. Rape is up 21% over the same period last year. And Fox News reported the number of shootings that have not resulted in a death, so no homicides here, but they're up 69%. So
wow,
that's what every town for gun safety in Bloomberg is accomplishing.
Well,
so,
I mean, when you pull the firearms from the good people, then
and that's probably also why everybody's leaving New York.
It is true.
Yeah.
55% increase in murder.
That voice that you heard is of Ronnie, who makes up Boom Boom Tactical. Ronnie, did you see? I know we talked about it a little bit last week. The Aurora shooter, this thug who went up and shot up his past employer and stuff. Once again, this system failed us. It was identified that the Illinois background check system didn't pick up on a past felony. It was too late. They did what the right thing to do. They sent a letter out and saying, maybe you should turn in your gun. And of course, he didn't comply. And so now this is what we end up with. So once again, the laws are in place. We need to fix a couple core things. It's not about magazine capacity and all this crazy stuff that they would make you want to think about.
Should not have been able to purchase that firearm.
Shouldn't have been. Shouldn't have been. If the system worked like it's supposed to, shouldn't even have been a discussion. Pawpaw sits to my left. My father, he is one of the owners here, the holster guy. And, the
holster man.
Tell me, we only have about 45 seconds here. Tell me why I shouldn't buy this.
I have no reason why you shouldn't buy it.
Yes, this came in. This nice little specimen came in.
It's too shiny.
And in fact, if you don't buy it, I'm probably going to be forced to.
You know what's neat about this? It's a little Beretta 950B or 950B. It's a 22 short, and you know what is so neat about it? And JC, you probably already know this. I'm not telling you anything.
JC knows everything. Come on.
The magazine actually has part of the feed ramp.
Right there.
Right built into it.
That's pretty cool.
So.
Yeah, the little 22 short needed a little extra ramping up there to get in there.
And you said, Eric, you went and shot it, and it just
shot
performed flawlessly.
Right?
Yeah, it's
little
great.
22 shorts.
Great.
All right, guys, it's time to jump to break. When we come back, it's time for Pawpaw's Gun of the Week. It is Smith & Wesson's largest caliber they ever manufactured, and it's here for Smith & Wesson
And
Day.
it's not a revolver. It's not a semi-auto.
Well, what is it, Pawpaw?
Will we be able to pass it around?
Yes.
We're on target. We're broadcasting live from the studios of LAPD Firearms and Range. We'll be right back after the break.
Jesse Smollett now, was in custody out $100,000 bail. He said he was going back to work.
And he orchestrated this whole thing. Joel Riley and Columbus's Morning News.
They yelled MAGA country. They yelled
homophobic slurs and racial slurs.
Monday morning. They threw something on him. They put a rope around his neck, right? All the people that were on Jesse Smollett's side.
He's set those causes back.
And I don't think we're going to see the outrage from them, and that's sad. This guy orchestrated this whole thing just to get a raise.
On News Radio 610 WTBN. And he's already making $1 million.
Hi, we're the Gore family, owners of Blackwing. That's right, Blackwing is family owned and operated.
But Rex, what does that mean to our guests?
It means we're flexible. We listen and adjust to the needs of our guests.
Mark, what else does that mean?
It means their hard-earned money stays right here in their community because we support many local non-profit organizations and businesses.
Why? Because we care about you and our community.
How we doing, Scotty?
Let us take you under our wing because that's what family is for.
Doing pretty good.
What temp you got there?
We are at a balmy 45.
Woo! Tactical blades or shaving supplies, go to where the professionals shop. River's Edge Cutlery, conveniently located in Hilliard. You'll find some of the best knives from Spyderco, Microtech, Benchmade, and much more. Their one-on-one service and commitment to helping you find the right knife for your needs is unsurpassed. Stop by and see your friends at River's Edge Cutlery. That's riversedgecutlery.com. Recommended by LEPD Firearms.
iHeartRadio has made it super easy to discover the best podcasts for whatever you're into, and I mean whatever. From true crime to history, comedy to food, and dozens of other topics. In fact, there's over 25,000 podcasts. But don't get overwhelmed, it's cool. iHeartRadio makes it easy to browse and find the ones perfect for you. And listening is always free, even if you want to download them to your phone so you can listen offline, like on a plane. If you're going to take the podcast plunge, let iHeartRadio be your podcast player.
Your ABC 6 first warning weather for today: cloudy and breezy and mild. Showers and a few downpours likely in the afternoon. High of 55. Tonight, scattered rain and gusty winds are possible. Mild temps, though, low of 49. For Sunday, more rain changing to snow showers late in the day. Windy with falling temperatures. Midday temps in the mid-40s. It's currently 45 degrees on your severe weather station. News Radio 610 WTVN.
Get up to speed Monday morning. The Joel Riley Show. News Radio 610 WTVN.
Janice, baby.
Wow! Welcome back. You know, we need an after hour.
Have you
We just
ever
need to
seen
keep
her
playing
sing
this.
that in the concert?
I did.
She
it was incredible.
she gets the crowd going.
Oh, well, yeah, just walking out on stage,
Wow.
gets crowds going. One of a kind.
Yep.
Boy.
That's right. That is right. Welcome back to On Target. I'm your host, Eric, joined today in the LEPD studios. My father, who you just saw on Facebook Live, Phil, sits to my left. JC from the sales teams to my right, and Ronnie from Boom Boom Tactical is to my far right. Guys, before we go any further, I should say, where can you hear us? You can hear us on 610 WTVN. That's live on your AM dial. Or if you have an Alexa, you can say, hey, Alexa, I want to
Get me a beer.
When that's hey to
Or
Linda.
if you have a wife.
Into 610. Yeah,
so, we're on Facebook Live.
iTunes?
iTunes.
Cartoons, and everything.
Google Podcast. iHeart Media Podcast. We're on all of those.
We're on all
and
that stuff.
and check us out on Facebook.
And old shows are on there, too. So if you find anything you want in the past, we got about 200 and some shows.
There is a bunch. So without any further ado, before we get to Pawpaw's Gun of the Week, before we have Larry on the line.
Okay.
Larry, you're on with On Target. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
You know what? We couldn't be better.
Excellent. Well, I had a question. Currently, I'm in the security business, and I'm looking to get my OPATA training. And I understand that you guys have courses there towards the end of the month. You know, I have a concealed carry license, and I haven't actually been to the range for a while, so I need to come out and refresh. But taking the concealed carry, the OPATA training class, I understand it's 10 hours over 2 days. However, I'm a little nervous about the qualifying on the range portion of that.
Sure.
During this process, I'm just curious, the goal of this is to learn properly the laws, I understand, and show proficiency and safety while taking this course. Is this course guided as far as to the success of the student passing, offering assistance to that? Or do you just have to come in, with the skills?
Right. Great question. And it's funny you mention it because we actually have that 20-hour course going on this weekend. We run it at least once a month, and something you do have to requalify with annually. For us, it's 2 10-day classes, and it is the curriculum is made, put out there by OPATA. So there's not a whole lot of leeway in what's taught, but the instructors have an extra set of license to help with that. And you're correct. We are there to lead you through the way, and certainly to help you on the range. And I think there's 4 hours of that is on the range. but there is a pretty strict qualification portion of that. So if you, I mean, what we tell a lot of folks is if you haven't shot for a while, come in, before that. You can even do a one-on-one with one of those instructors who teach the class to kind of get through, so if that's something you're a little bit nervous about, so you know what the parameters are for the qualification. And then once you get to the class, you shouldn't have any issue.
But what you're doing is perfect. We've done several of these where the people come in ahead of time, because that's the nervous part. You do have to meet those qualifications.
Right.
If you haven't shot in a while,
Yep.
you need to get out here and do some practice.
And Larry, it is true. I mean, it is one of those things. It's not, it's not just a show up and you're going to pass. I mean, it's something that's pretty regulated. I mean, there's certain parameters on how many times you can, attempt to qualify and so forth. But it's certainly something that's doable. And if you come out, beforehand or get with us, we can certainly help guide you, so when you get to that point, it's easy for you. Oh, maybe Larry dropped.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Okay, there you go.
Good.
He was listening. All right.
So, hey, thanks for calling too, Larry. So, Pawpaw, gun of the week. What do you have? Uh-oh, he's bringing out the stand. Let's put a little focus on him on Facebook Live if you're out there to see what he has.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Huh? What do you think?
The largest caliber that they've ever made.
Okay. Here, can we have that right there?
I think
There
that,
you go.
that one
Okay.
was made in Lima, I think, wasn't it?
Rock Creek.
Rock Creek.
Rock
okay.
Creek. After the Smith & Wesson was purchased by the Bangor Bunta Company or Corporation, they instructed the president to diversify and to increase their sales by making law enforcement items like this. They call this a gas launcher or a tear gas or whatever. I like the term gas launcher. I think my wife called me that too sometimes. But
I'm glad you went there.
But this is a gas launcher. It's a 37 millimeter. It's got a 14-inch barrel. The neat thing about this, and we can pass this around, it's on a Smith & Wesson end frame. All right. So when I said you can single action or double action, so you pass that around.
That is, it's so neat because it doesn't take much to see the revolver in that.
No,
it's basically a revolver with a stock.
Yeah.
And instead of the cylinder, it's the rest of the launcher.
Yeah, and
that is very cool.
And the front sight blade is fixed, and it's in obviously the front of the barrel, and the barrel latch has a square grooved for use as a rear sight, and then there's a flip up sight too with two apertures pinned to the barrel latch assembly. Whew, it's easy for you to say. And the stock is a one-piece walnut with pistol grip, straight comb, brown ventilated rubber recoil pad, and a sling swivel mounted on the barrel and on the bottom of the wood stock. I think they only made these in Parkerized finish.
There was a pistol version, right?
Oh, there is a pistol version. I have a picture. Yeah, and it looks just like that, except it has a pistol grip. Look at that.
I just love that end frame. It's got the end frame hammer.
Holy cow.
Everything is there as a concealed carry. I love that.
Yeah.
The nice thing is you can still get ammunition for this that isn't a firework or smoke grenade or like a signaling thing, and you can go out and have some fun with that.
So can you get a firework for it?
Yeah,
I think you can.
Get
right. Now that's too cool.
Yeah.
Pyrotechnics is what they call it.
Yeah. Right.
And I mean, this is neat. This is in our case.
Yeah.
It has been in our case, and it's in great shape.
Yeah.
Oh,
now,
beautiful shape.
when these were first made, it was about, I think, $207 new.
Wow.
But I've seen these now. They're still out there. You can buy them for $300-400.
Yep.
You can still get parts for them.
I know. That's neat.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow,
good
that's
gun of the week,
cool.
Paul.
That's a
Actually, one of
great
my
gun of the
favorite
week.
guns of the week.
Well,
You've been stepping it up.
We need to take that to the range.
I
and
could
fire
probably
that
do
up.
a trigger job on that.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you can.
When we come back from the break, it is Smith & Wesson Day here at LEPD. We'll talk about Smith & Wesson and its history and what makes the company so unique. We're on Target, broadcasting live from LEPD Firearms and Range. We'll be right back after the news.
Hey, it's Sharon Traubner, neurobrain expert with a helpful tip on how to improve your memory, concentration, and focus. Let me ask you, when's the last time you were in a conversation and all of a sudden you just zoned out? You know what I'm talking about, that senior moment that can happen at any age when you lose your place, totally space out, and forget what you were talking about. It's embarrassing, like you're in mental quicksand. I've heard this so many times from clients. And
Yo.
Hey, was that Larry? Did he just drop off? Or did you just cut him?
Yeah.
Okay.
He dropped off. So.
Yeah. That's fine. That's perfect. Then we don't have to. I don't have to worry about that.
Right.
So perfect. All right. So
yeah, it definitely helped us out with timing. I don't know if he was just listening on the air or he wanted to hear himself. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, but that was good. That's a good question. That actually it highlights something we don't talk about much. So it was good.
Yep.
All right, we'll be here. Good song too.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
9429. Get your free bottle for a limited time. Call now. 800-681-9429. 800-681-9429.
News, traffic, and weather for Columbus. News Radio 610. WTBN.
News Radio 610 WTBN. I'm Sean Gallagher. Flu-related hospital visits have increased in Ohio for 3 straight weeks after declining for 2 weeks in January and are trending above the 5-year average for the first time this season. From February 10th through 16th, there were 534 new flu-related hospitalizations in Ohio, compared to 489 during the previous week. That was still significantly fewer than the 1,135 new flu-related hospitalizations reported during the same time period last year. The Blue Jackets shut out the Ottawa Senators 3-0 on the road last night. Hours before the game, the Jackets acquired Ottawa's Matt Duchene in a trade. In his first game with Columbus, Duchene had 3 shots on goal and had just over 19 minutes of ice time. The Jackets are home this afternoon to face the San Jose Sharks at 5. Your ABC 6 first warning weather forecast today: cloudy, breezy, and mild with rain, which could be heavy at times, and a high of 55. I'm Sean Gallagher for breaking news and weather alerts instantly. Follow us on Twitter at 610 WTVN News.
This is Eric with LEPD Firearms Range and Training Facility. If you're a business owner in need of a personalized gift for your employees this season, CNS Engraving is one-stop shopping for all your engraving needs. From promotional items to customized products to unique OSU licensed gifts, the quality of work from CNS is simply the best in Central Ohio. Want to make your firearm unique, or do you need an NFA item engraved? Do what we do and call our good friends at CNS Engraving. 614-929-2726. Come see their work at LEPD or stop by their storefront in Powell.
Are you thinking about making your first firearm purchase or looking to add to your collection? Stop by and check out over 200 used firearms in stock at LEPD Firearms Range and Training Facility on Bethel Road. From modern pistols, old revolvers, to classic rifles, you'll find a wide variety with inventory changing daily. Check out their current used inventory at lepd.com or stop by the store and experience the best holster selection in Central Ohio. Great deals are waiting for you at LEPD, 999 Bethel Road, or on the web at lepd.com.
Live from LEPD Firearms Range and Training Facility, this is On Target, the latest from the firearms industry, the products and politics that affect your hobby and liberty. This program may not be politically correct, but it is On Target. Now, your host, Eric Delbert.
Welcome back to On Target. I'm your host, Eric, joined today in the LEPD studios, my father, co-owner, Phil. Your mic is on now there, Pawpaw. JC from the sales team sits to my right. And my far right, my good friend Ronnie from Boom Boom Tactical.
And he is far right.
Yeah, there is.
Far right. And I guess I'm far left. I don't know.
No, you're left of center.
Left of center, okay.
So, guys, it is Smith & Wesson Day here at LEPD. If you're in the area, stop by. All kinds of neat Smith & Wessons to go up there and try. I saw some suppressors up there, too. I think Smith & Wesson purchased a suppressor company.
Was it Solensko?
One of those recently.
Which one they got,
but there is some that are up there that you can try. If you decide to purchase a Smith & Wesson today, during Smith & Wesson Day, no sales tax on it. So it has 7.5%. The price you see on the tag is the price that you'll be charged when you buy it. Yeah. And there's a lot of neat performance center guns over there. There's a lot of neat ones. So if you've been
special ones over there.
There is
titanium cylindered 8-shot 357 Magnum. I mean, there's some great stuff to come in and try.
So Smith & Wesson, I mean, you know, the thing that's kind of neat, and it's for many of these gun manufacturers, is when you step back, how many things can you say that are pushing 150, 175 years old that are still feasible, that you can still go out there and that still function as they were made to function? I mean, it's really, I mean, they were so far ahead of their time when you look at the technology and the engineering on some of these things, and they have stood the test of time. Smith & Wesson was almost 167 years old.
That's amazing.
And, you know, my fond memories of Smith, I mean, obviously started with Dad with his, you know, tapered barrel Model 10, you know, that I remember when you were on duty early on. And then
my favorite.
Yeah, exactly. And then what has grown to be my favorite are the J-frame Smith & Wessons. And that comes from probably when I was 18, when you gave me the Model 60, you know.
I gave you a choice.
You gave me a choice.
Between Model 60 and Model 36.
And you know, I mean, we're less than a year from Luke being 18, so we're going to have some discussions there. But there's so many. When you go around the table, I mean, Smith & Wesson has been at our side for years, and the sides of law enforcement and civilians and many people. Yeah. So, JC, tell us a little bit about what got them started.
I think it is the most historic of the companies. All their firsts are just incredible. But they got together in 1852. That's when Horace Smith and Daniel Baird Wesson got together, and they thought that they could manufacture a firearm with a self-contained cartridge. What you think back in the days of the black powder and the ball and the patch and the they said, hey, we think we can do this. So they came up with a cartridge in a lever-operated firearm. And here's what I think is so interesting. That's the first thing they came up with was the cartridge and then the lever. And who ended up buying it was Oliver Winchester. So they actually got Winchester started. And actually Wesson actually worked for Winchester when they first got this rifle and handgun going called the Volcanic, which is the first lever gun. But they even got those guys kicked off. So that's absolutely amazing. So they ended up coming up with the original in 1857. They got their Model 1 revolver. It was in a 22 rimfire. So a standard 22 short rimfire. And you can actually fire that today.
Can you imagine how thrilled they were, I mean, up until this point, not having a cartridge?
It's hard for us to believe nowadays, but you see the separation of flintlocks and percussion to what we have now. But they were the guys who, in the United States, put this together. And when they did it, and then Oliver Winchester bought out that section of it and started Winchester, and they continued on with their Model 1. And I think you even have one here
Eric's
today.
got a Model 1.
But we're talking about the very first self-contained cartridge revolver in the United States. So it just took off like crazy. So what surprised me is I've seen lots of Civil War photos, because I'm interested in that kind of period of time, and a lot of the people in the Civil War were carrying their Model 1s and Model 2s in that period of time, these single-shot little 22s. But that was, it was
multi-rounds.
Right.
I mean, if you go from something that potentially didn't have that
cartridge, it was a lot faster to fire, and anything is better than nothing. And you see a lot of these pictures of these guys having this stuff in the house. So that was a great kickoff.
Annie Oakley used a Smith & Wesson Model 3.
Really?
And that was back in the Wild West.
In the Wild West days, and that was their next big thing. They did do a Model 2, but they decided to go big time after the Civil War was over, and there was this expansion out west, and there was just bigger critters out there and bigger criminals, so they came up with the Model 3, which was the first large caliber centerfire cartridge revolver in the United States. And this one was picked up by the Army, and it was actually the first cartridge gun that was accepted by the military. And it was what's amazing is how many people use this. I mean, this number 3 single shot revolver, it was out in a 44 American, it was called. So that was a little different cartridge. I mean, Jesse James, Bob Ford, the guy who killed Jesse James, John Wesley Hardin, Pat Garrett, Theodore Roosevelt, who's obviously not the criminal, but the president, the future president, Virgil Earp, Billy the Kid, and at the OK Corral, the gunfight at the OK Corral, the gun that was used by Wyatt Earp was an 8-inch barreled Smith & Wesson Model 3 in 44 American, which was different than the other 44.
You know what, JC, around that time, one of my favorites is I think they call it the 1896 or Model 1. It's the first one where the revolver had a swing-out cylinder.
Yeah.
So to that time, it was the top brake.
These were top brakes, auto-ejecting.
And that swing-out cylinder, auto-ejecting. What was neat about that is the mechanism to get the revolver to revolve stuff was sat at the top of the inside, not at the bottom that. And it was the only model like that, and it's just I've always had an affinity to there. I have a couple that are police marked, for when they first came out with those and everything. JC, let's jump to a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion about Smith & Wesson, some of the history on it, and we might have a caller waiting for us as well. We're on Target, broadcasting live from the LEPD studios at 999 Bethel Road.
When the news goes viral, we'll bring you the facts at the top and bottom of the hour on News Radio 610 WTVN.
Hey, this is Pawpaw from OnTarget. Around the store, I'm known as a tough guy and the enforcer. I usually don't do commercials. However, when it comes to our new sponsor, Toyota West, I told Eric this is all mine. Since the late 1980s, I have been going to Toyota West for all of my new car and truck purchases. They are located at 270 in Georgesville Road. My main man there is Dean, who has been with the dealership over 13 years. That's got to say something for the caliber, excuse the pun, and experience you'll find at Toyota West. In the market for a new or used vehicle? Don't screw up. Go visit Toyota West. Tell them Pawpaw sent you.
If you're looking to turn your basement into something beautiful by adding natural light, remember Jackson Egress Windows. Locally owned and operated. And Angie's List Super Service Award winner. Jackson Egress Windows can change your dingy basement into something special that will add value to your home. Whether you're looking to add an extra bedroom or game room or just a place to hang out, call Jackson Egress Windows for an estimate today. 614-260-5130. See examples of their work at jacksonegresswindows.com.
Tier Heating and Cooling. When you need a company you can trust, call 1-800-COOLING.
Your ABC6 first warning weather for today: cloudy, breezy, and mild. Showers are likely in the afternoon, high of 55. For tonight, scattered rain and gusty winds. Mild temps, though, low of 49 for Sunday. Morning rain changing to snow later in the day. Windy with falling temps. Midday temps are going to be in the mid-40s. It's still currently 45 degrees on your severe weather station, News Radio 610 WTVN.
Central Ohio's news, traffic, and weather station. News Radio 610 WTVN.
All I want is a remedy for all of the things ever be. Ooh, I would take a
Welcome back to On Target. I'm your host, Eric, joined today in the LEPD studios with JC from the sales team, Ronnie, who makes up Boom Boom Tactical. My father and co-owner Phil is out mingling with his fans. One fan, that's it. Fans,
there's two. Oh, she's the only one?
Scott's turning the records for us. Great addition.
Oh, yeah, this
there,
was
Scott.
great.
You know what? That song, he probably thinks I'm a weirdo. I texted him. It was like 11 o'clock one night. I'm working out. I'm like, hey, Scott, what do you think about playing this, the Black Crows? He's like, yeah.
Great.
I'll tell you, him and I are going to do a show sometime.
Yeah, you should, because that was one I'll listen to.
Exactly.
That's great.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
If you're just tuning in, we're talking about Smith & Wesson. It's Smith & Wesson Day here at LEPD Firearms and Range. You can come in, try out some of the Smith & Wessons. You can, if you end up purchasing one today, there's no sales tax on it. 7.5% off the price of the gun. The price you see on it is the price.
New or used. So there we go.
That is correct. JC, we have a caller, but I want to. You had one other thing to tee up first.
Just two real quick things. In 1880, they got the first double action revolver, so that was a real landmark. In 1887, they got the first hammerless revolver, where they had a concealed hammer. So they came up with the first concealed carry gun in 1887. But the big year, 1889, is when they came out with their what would be the most successful revolver in the world, and that was Smith & Wesson's 38 Military and Police in 1899 that evolved into the Model 10 revolver, and they have made over 6 million Model 10s, and then during the war and the victory model years, they made another million. So 7 million of these, and it all started in 1899.
That's unbelievable.
That is the bread and butter of pistols right there.
If you're watching today on Facebook Live, you can see one of our props here. If you're a Smith & Wesson enthusiast like us, or if you just are a history buff, one book that you have to have, there's no doubt about it. There's several revisions now, but it's one you have to have. It's the Bible of Smith & Wesson. It's right here. It's the Standard Catalog of Smith & Wesson by Jim Supica and Richard Nahas. And, well, hold on one sec. We're getting to a caller here. Hey, you're on with On Target.
Hey there.
Is that, excuse me, is this?
He dropped.
Oh, he dropped? All right.
I know who it is.
We'll wait to see who that caller could be. You know, who could that caller be?
Jim Topeka?
Oh, maybe.
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 We just don't know.
So, but it is true though. If you are any enthusiast, and I mean, this book is unbelievable, going through the history. And one of the neat things, and Dad and I were looking at it the other day, Smith & Wesson isn't just, the firearms that you think of. I mean, at one point they got into, handcuffs are still big into, but knives and air guns and projectile launchers and suppressors and holsters.
We call these gas
I
lancers.
wonder why they veered away from shotguns. I think.
Well, I know. They did have shotguns for a while.
They had a couple really nice shotguns. I wish they would
Winchester
have.
pretty much had that sewn up until 1950-51 when Remington came out with their stuff, and they just know what they do, and they did it.
That's
they do
right.
It well.
So we have the caller back on. You're on with OnTarget. Is this Jim?
This is Jim. How are you guys doing?
Mr. Jim Supica. You know what? We are so. We have a lot of people on the show. I still get nervous when you're on it because the wealth of information you have, and I sleep by your book sometimes. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
You guys are just nailing the history of Smith & Wesson today. I'm having a great time listening to you, and it's really well put forth.
Well, thank you so much. And I mean, you have the best job in the world. And tell people a little bit about what your role today is.
Yeah, I really do. I am the director of the NRA museums, which we now have 3 museums. There's an original NRA National Firearms Museum at NRA headquarters in Fairfax, Virginia, and there's the NRA National Firearms Museum at Bass Pro Shops in Springfield, Missouri, and, of course, at the NRA Whittington Center Ranges in Raton, New Mexico, there's the Frank Brownell Museum of the Southwest.
Wow. So you must see so much. I mean, tell us a little bit about some of some of the neat things about Smith & Wesson that we might not know otherwise, or some of the pieces you have that are just near and dear to your heart.
Well, you guys were talking about some of my favorite era Smith & Wessons when you're into the top breaks and tip-ups you were talking about a little while ago. And my very favorite guns in the NRA museums are those that have a name associated with them, the guns that have been owned and used by notable individuals, and we have several of those on display in that category. One that comes to mind immediately, one of my personal favorite guns in the museum, is one of the Smith & Wesson Model 3s you were talking about. It was the final iteration of that top break large frame revolver, the new model number 3. And we have the one that was owned by Theodore Roosevelt. It's engraved by the factory, very simple engraving. It has combat target sights on it, which were very unusual for that era. And the chambering is very unusual. The standard chambering for these was 44 Smith & Wesson, but this one is chambered in the 38 U.S. service cartridge. And the story behind that is Roosevelt ordered this from the factory as he was leaving to go to San Antonio to train the Rough Riders in 1898, getting ready to go to Cuba to fight the Spanish there. And he wanted a revolver that had the ammunition that was the U.S. service issue, which, you can understand that. He wanted to simplify ammunition supply. So that's a personal favorite in there. You talked about the little Smith & Wesson hammerless revolvers, the safety hammerless or new departure, or nicknamed the lemon squeezer. And we also have one of those that's attributed to Theodore Roosevelt. It's a little 32 safety hammerless, and it also is engraved very fancy. It has an image of him as a Rough Rider on horseback, firing a revolver on the side of it. So those are special favorites for me. I love the new model number 3. It's probably my favorite handgun model, and Theodore Roosevelt is one of my favorite historical figures. Of course, he was President of the United States. He was also recipient of both the Medal of Honor and the Nobel Peace Prize. Just a remarkable individual. Enthusiastic hunter, naturalist, conservationist, writer, a very exceptional person historically.
Wow. JC?
My favorite. It's just my favorite person, I think, let alone president. I mean, I just got done reading my third book on him. I just set it down a couple days ago, and he's also an explorer. He found a 1,000-mile river in the Amazon that nobody had ever traversed before, and he almost died on that. He was not in good shape at the end of that. Couldn't even sit up.
Yeah.
So it was an incredible individual. So I really appreciate that. I would love to go there and see these firearms, Jim. I'll tell you, these are near and dear to my heart.
Maybe we have to.
You guys need a road trip sometime.
We do, and you know what? Maybe we'll do it, and I'll put on loan for a little bit the Jack Ruby gun.
Oh, wow. You guys have the Jack Ruby gun?
Well, not the Jack Ruby gun, not the Oswald one, but we have one. It's a Model 36. Actually, it's a pre-36, so it's a Chief Special. An early one, so it has the rounded trigger guard, and it is one that we have documentation. He was arrested with it. He was arrested for carrying a concealed weapon with it.
Now, is that the one that has the great story with it?
Yes.
With the guy who bought it as a collector and decided he wanted to share it with someone?
No, this one, it's in my collection, and it was one that it was out there a number of years ago, and it was labeled as Jack Ruby's other firearm, and I did a little research, and no one was believing the gentleman who listed it, but long story short, Jack Ruby had given it at some point to one of the managers of the clubs he ran, and it was in the possession of that family. The family was from California, wanted nothing to do with firearms, and Jim, would you believe they were one step from throwing it in the dumpster to get rid of it?
Oh, my gosh.
And since purchased it.
There must be something about Jack Ruby guns. I don't know which revolver it is, and this story may be apocryphal, so take it with a grain of salt. But what I understood was that a collector who had bought one of the Jack Ruby 38s was visiting Washington, D.C., and he thought, hey, I bet my congressman would like to see this, and took it in to see the congressman, and of course got it confiscated at that point.
You know what, Jim, you are exactly right. That is the actual one, is the Colt, I believe, that he shot Oswald with. And there was a point it was going to get melted down because it got hung up in New York laws. So there's a fascinating history. Now, I've looked for a while to see whose hand that it in. It's in some private collector now that it's not out there anywhere. But the last time it sold, I think it sold for almost $1 million.
But his gun, Jim, the one that he owns, it actually was buried in a backyard because people were embarrassed to have it because of who owned it, and put it in a plastic bag. And it's also mentioned twice in the Warren Commission report by serial number, and it was used to beat one of his managers and pistol whip him with, and it was in possession of the Dallas Police Department. He has all the documentation with that. It's just really a
I'm
treat.
thinking a little display here, Jim.
No, I like that.
That we're going to have to come down and hand deliver.
You need to loan that.
That's what we need.
Love to be able
Road
to
trip.
display that. That'd be very cool.
That's right. Well, Jim, we have 1 minute left. Any other favorite Smiths come to mind?
Gosh, we could talk about the Jesse James Schofield that we've got on display. We could talk about the Model 2944 Magnum that was used in the Dirty Harry movies.
Wow.
There's the 3844 police target model that Ed McGivern used to fire 5 shots into a target in less than 1/2 of a second. So, like I say, the ones I like are the ones that have the history with them.
Wow. Well, Jim, thank you so much for calling in. It's always a pleasure. It's an honor, really. The knowledge you have is just amazing. And the book that you're a part of is a must for any Smith & Wesson enthusiast. It's just incredible. Is that something where you're always working on a next revision, or how does that? I know there's one that came out a couple years ago. How does that work?
We get so sick of having done the latest edition that it gives me a tick in the eye when anyone says a 6th edition. I suppose at some point we will do one.
I didn't realize you did 5. The latest one is just incredible.
It's incredible.
Oh no, the latest one is the 4th.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, great.
It just seems like 5.
Well, thank you.
Hey, thanks for everything you guys are doing. Great show. Appreciate you having me on.
Anytime. That's Mr. Jim Supica, one of the authors, the co-authors of the Bible, Smith & Wesson. I mean, no one really knows more than him and his team. Incredible
He's an incredible man, too. I get to see him at the OGCA shows occasionally, and he's just incredible.
I know the first time I ever met him, I had called looking to see if he'd come on the show, and I'm expecting to get an admin or someone who I have to make an appointment with, and I called the NRA Museum, and he picked up the phone. Mr. Supica, this is little Eric from Columbus, Ohio. But, I mean, always a gracious man, just a wonderful, wonderful man. Guys, that is it for the hour. It went so fast, you got to stop down and see all these Smith & Wessons that are here today. Next week, we're going to talk about something a little bit unique, the most popular guns that you don't know about. So some of those that are in our case that we sell quite a few of that are popular that you might not recognize and stuff. So it's going to be kind of a unique one. Ronnie has the gun of the week. And
I know what it's going to be already.
I know it. You know what? You would have talked about it today if we didn't sell it already.
Yeah, I sold it this morning.
And you came up with some neat things about that too.
Yeah.
That is really going to make that one that is going to be popular. Thanks for spending the hour with us. 999 Bethel Road is where we're at. Facebook is LEPD Firearms and Range. Come check us out. See us.
Sale's still on until 7 o'clock.
Until 7 o'clock tonight. Come in, see the guys. Oh, and JC, I heard you got an autograph. You had requested for an autograph this week.
I had a request, so that was fun.
All right. Have a good week.
Have you looked for your dream Hyundai recently? Been overwrought by inventory, haggling for price, and kept around waiting? You should feel what it's like to drive for better with Dennis Hyundai. Your color, your upgrades, and your financing options, all with Hyundai Assurance, America's best warranty, a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Experience the future of car buying at DennisHyundai.com or check out the redesigned 2019 Santa Fe at Dennis Hyundai on Morse Road and in Dublin. Dennis Hyundai, driving for better.
You know Pella Windows and Doors is the most preferred window brand in Central Ohio. Hey there, Joel Riley, and it's easy to see why. So many options like triple pane glass or blinds between the glass. Functionality that keeps you warm now and cool in the summer.
Are you there,
what
Mr.
a great
Scott?
time to buy. You get up to 50%.
Yeah, give me a second, though.
Oh, you're good.
Or 36-month payment options. Reach out, find them, and get plugged in. Stop by the showroom. Give them a call at 877-98.
All right, man, you're good.
Okay, here we go.
It's PellaColumbus.com.
This is Eric from OnTarget. This week we discuss popular firearms that you may never have heard of. And Ronnie has the gun of the week sponsored by Blackwing Shooting Center. Tune in Saturday at 1 p.m. or live from LEPD Studios on Bethel Road.
Listen, the makers of Super Beta Prostate, the #1 prostate.
This is Eric from OnTarget. This week we discuss popular firearms that you may have not heard about. And Ronnie has the gun of the week sponsored by Blackwing Shooting Center. Tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. or live from LEPD Studios on Bethel Road.
3 prostate supplements in one. To celebrate, we're sending free bottles to men who want
This is
to
Eric
cut
from
down on
OnTarget.
bathroom
This week we
trips.
discuss popular firearms that you may not have heard of. And Ronnie has the gun of the week sponsored by Blackwing Shooting Center. Tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. or live from LEPD Studios on Bethel Road. Oh, actually, that one I got messed up.
P3 Advanced may help support a normal prostate size. Combine that with a reduction in.
This is Eric from OnTarget. This week we discuss popular firearms that you may not have heard of, and Ronnie has the gun of the week sponsored by Blackwing Shooting Center. Tune in today at 1 p.m. or live from LEPD Studios on Bethel Road.
1-800-204-0104. 1-800-204-0104.
Your station for news, traffic, and weather in Central Ohio.
How'd that sound there, Scotty?
Radio 610 WTD.
All right, buddy, we're good. Looks good. Sounds good.
Thank you. I'll brainstorm about music next week.
All right, man. See you next week.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
Opposition leader Juan Guaido tweeted that humanitarian aid had gotten into Venezuela over its border with Brazil. But the AP says 2 trucks are blocked at the border. It's a similar situation at Venezuela's border with Colombia. For today, volunteers clashed with government forces who fired smoke grenades. Nearly 210 tons of American humanitarian aid is stockpiled across the border in Colombia, but